Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we are going to be recapping episode 79 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. I enjoyed this one quite a lot. There was a lot of cool things that happened within it, so let's get started. We start in the Ligament Manor after being teleported to the Feyrealm to gain some extra time via Nanamori's time manipulation to fix a few trust issues that the party is having currently. The party is chilling at the tiki bar, and Chetney goes up to Fern and asks if Nanamori gives out wishes. She says she does kind of. It's more like deals where something is usually exchanged. Chet asks if these deals with her always go for the other in favor of the other person. Fern says no. Some people in the garden are probably those whose deals went bad. Fern says that she's aware Nanamori is kind of weird. At this point, we can see Allura is sitting at the tiki bar being very uncomfortable. Nanamori has gone back to her quote-unquote stories as she's looking into her crystal ball and laughing. Birdie is upstairs and Ollie is helping Allura get drinks. The party can hear the creaking and animal noises of the Ligament Manor. FCG asks Chet what he wants from Nanamori. Chetney says that he wants his youthful appearance back. After seeing Deanna, he wants to look young again. He only wants to look it. He doesn't want to physically de-age. He just wants to appear to be young. The party asks what Chet used to look like. He said that he had a full head of hair, and his chest hair was much better. It wasn't super patchy, and that he had a full face of facial hair. FCG wants to know why Chetney wants to look young again. He says that it's just what he wants. FCG wonders if Chetney wants to find his family. Chetney says no, he doesn't want a family. He doesn't want to settle down. He wants to travel and be inspired. The party asks how Orem is doing, and he says that he has a lot on his mind. Lana asks what Nanamori was alluding to earlier when Fern showed her the Asmodeus mark. Fern isn't quite sure. They wonder if it means Ollie isn't her actual father, and maybe this other person, or whatever this connection or deal is where her powers come from. FCG says they're gonna go talk to Nanamori and start dealing with the scavenger hunt stuff. They believe it'll get them back on track as a team. Nana says that she has some ideas as she comes out of the shadows behind FCG. Nana says that she's very excited to plot with them, and then she grabs FCG by the head and drags them off. Chetney wants to check out the rooms that Nanamori made for them. The party go and check them out. They're modest rooms, and they're all mildly stereotyped towards each individual person of the party. Fern goes off to find Birdie, her mother. Fern goes to Nanamori's collection room and sees Birdie is talking to the door of the room. It seems to have like a skull made of stuff on it which talks. The door says that everyone at the Ligament Manor is very excited to see Fern again. Fern says hi to the door and then goes over to Birdie. They choose to head up to the garden to talk alone, away from prying eyes. As they go up, Birdie says that they had to move quickly out of the Calloway hideaway. Hundir didn't come with them to the Feyrealm. He actually went off to find other Grimverity members. They gave him one of the crawlers they had and sent him off. He seems a lot more confident these days. Fern says that Nanamori told her about a secret that Birdie might have. At this point, Birdie slows down and her smile drops a bit. Birdie asks what Fern means, and Fern isn't quite sure. Fern tells her of the deal that she made with Asmodeus' champion. Fern isn't sure what it means either. Birdie says that devils can be difficult to deal with. Fern asked if Birdie has ever tangoed with devils and demons in the past. Birdie claims that she hasn't. Insight check from Fern of 29. Birdie isn't lying, but she is definitely on guard about something. As they reach the gardens, or as they begin to reach the gardens, Birdie says that she thinks she knows what Nanamori is talking about. Fern says it'll be okay, she can tell her. Birdie wants to go find a good place for them to talk. There's a bit of silence between the two of them as they walk. As they're walking, Dr. Nesbit, a owl that lives here at the Ligament Manor, flies up to Fern and is very excited to see her. Fern is very excited to see him as well. After a bit of talk, Nesbit flies off and leaves them alone. They can see that there's something, deep conversation about to happen. Birdie thinks that Dr. Nesbit is quite a lot sometimes, especially this early in the morning, and Fern agrees. Fern then asks bluntly what it is that the secret is. They finally reach a good spot in the garden. They see that the Twilight Garden on top of the tree is filled with humanoid plants, which we now are theorizing is people who have failed deals with Nanamori. They find a good place and sit, and Birdie is very nervous. Birdie explains how she met Ollie, and he was a prisoner of the Unseelie court, and she was in love with one of the members of the court. She says that the member she was in love with was a beautiful and terrifying man, but she's different now, and she was in an odd place back then. Ollie was being held prisoner by the court for his double dealings with them. She even made fun of him and poked and prodded at him, as, is to do for the Unseelie. But she fell in love with him over time. But not before she was with child with Fern. The man Birdie was with said it was time and took her to Exandria, where she gave birth to Fern underneath the red moon like planned. Fern is confused and asks if Ollie was her father or not. Birdie says no, but he raised her. Fern says that neither of them actually raised her. Birdie says the other man only gave her life. Fern asks who? Aphion Zethuda, the Sorrow Lord of the Unseelie court. The party literally fucking ran from this dude after destroying the Malleus Key. It's fucking sick. Birdie says that he knows about Fern and how she's still around. After Fern was born as planned, his usefulness for Birdie ran out, and she felt used, and she had to leave and went to Ollie, who promised to keep them both safe. This was the first time Birdie felt real love. They then traveled and stayed away from the court for a while until the moon showed up in the Feyrealm. They did anything they could to keep Fern safe. They went back to the Unseelie court, and with Iris' help, they snuck in and took the crown. And then they left Fern with Nanamori to keep her safe. Birdie feels that she failed her quest to keep Fern safe, but Fern has become something more than she could have ever imagined. Birdie says that she's sorry, but they did what she felt was right, and she'd do it all again to keep Fern safe. Birdie says that she can see the darkness that her sire left in her, but she makes it her own. Fern says it's okay. She loved growing up here and she loves Nana. She feels her mother put her in a very good place. Fern asks if she should stay away from Lord Zethuda. Birdie says it's her life and she thinks it'll be good for Ollie to have this sort of weight off his back, for him to know that Fern now knows. Birdie says Zethuda has a lot of bad qualities. Fern says that she wouldn't know anything about that, very sarcastically. Birdie says the difference is that she has a good heart, and it shows by the people that she's with. Birdie isn't asking for forgiveness, and she'll do whatever she can to make it up to Fern. Fern accepts that and thanks Birdie for talking to her. They hug and Fern heads back down. Meanwhile, Orm goes up to Ashton. Ashton is sitting alone drinking, off in a corner as a brooding punk guy does, I suppose. Orm asks him if he wants to go for a walk. Ashton asks if Orm is going to kill him, but says it's okay if he does. They head outside to the base of the tree. They are now in the undermuck. A bunch of mud pools are made by the roots of the tree. It's like a bog down here. It's kind of gross, kind of cool. It's gross and beautiful in its own way. Orm says he's been thinking and doesn't think the best thing to say is the first thing that pops into your head. He says he was freaked out by what happened, but that's not what he wants to say. He wants Ashton to feel the way he's going to feel and tells Ashton that they all care about him. Orm cares about him. Ashton thinks he believes that from everyone. Orm says whatever Ashton feels, they're all going through it. With Ashton and his father, with Imogen and her mother, with Orm and his whole family situation. It's hard to not let it be personal, but they can't let it be personal right now. They can't let everything be about every personal heart attack that they have, or heartbreak they have. Ashton says he can see the escalation of his actions and wonders what everyone would have said if what he had done worked. Orm tells Ashton to not let perfect be the enemy of good. There are no legends coming to save them. They are all they've got. This is going to be hard, and Orm needs Ashton to pick up that hammer and swing it at people. Ashton says what Chetney said has him thinking it was to fuck off or not, and he learned fucking off isn't something that's within themselves. Ashton's a softie on the inside, and they don't want to let it show very often. Orm asks for a lift using Ashton's new arm. Ashton lifts them, and Orm kisses him on the forehead. Ashton says he's going to say something to everyone in hopes that he's figured this all out, and they head inside. Allura and the rest are talking. Lana asks if she'll join the scavenger hunt. Allura says no, they're here for them to work on their things, and she's just their ride. Chenny asks if she's doing any research. Allura says that she is always researching. Chenny asks if she's going on any expeditions while they're here, and she shows off a bunch of floating runes all over the place and says that she's doing a lot of things right now, indicating that she's able to do many things at once, which is kind of interesting to me, using weird runic magic, or just weird magic in general. Lana asks if Allura ever had times like this during her adventuring days. Allura thinks for a while and says, of course, when a group cares for each other, they will go through things like this. In her case, it was someone they lost, and she hopes this group can stay together because their group didn't. She says that this can lead to the end of a group, but they are here and they're all taking things seriously, trying to fix it. Allura says to embrace this time that they have right now and not to fuck it up, because they're kind of important and necessary right now. Imogen says that she should take off the circlet on her head, which blocks off the sort of mind-reading capability she has. Lana asks why, and Imogen just removes it. The noise slowly returns to her mind. Lana asks why again. Imogen thinks that without it, she would have known Ashton's plan, and one of her strengths is being able to know things, know what everyone's thinking. Lana ran off. Ashton and Fern did what they did. Why weaken herself? Lana says that she shouldn't blame herself for what everyone did, and she shouldn't babysit everyone either. But Lana understands embracing the gift, or the sometimes gift and sometimes curse. At this point, Fern returns. Lana asks Fern if she's ready to embrace their strengths, no matter how weird they are. Fern says yes and wants to talk to everybody. At this point, Nana climbs out of the shadows of the tree with FCG in hand, and FCG does not recall any of the plans that they made, much like the deal they made in the last episode. Nana is very excited. They all ask FCG what they have planned, but Nana says that there is 3 keys to reforge their bond. FCG remembers this part: communication, trust, and honesty. Nana says that it's ready to go whenever they are all ready. Lana then says that Fern actually was going to tell them something, and that Nana should hear it first, or hear it as well. Fern then informs the party of her real father, which means that she is royalty like she thought, which everyone laughs that that's her takeaway. The party recall he was the one that was on the dragon, or Fey-like dragon here in the Feyrealm when they attacked the Malleus Key, Gloom Glut. He is the second in the command of the Unseelie Court, and he is a very bad man. Imogen says that Fern's dad likely knows her mother. Fern and Imogen get excited as the prospect of their parents dating, but Orem then chimes in and says that they might have to kill them both, which sort of puts the brakes on their excitement. They recall the conversation that Zethуда had with Odahan Thule, that the leader of the Unseelie Court wanted to remove lewdness from the plans, and Odahan said once the Moonweaver is gone, Zethуда will be forgiven by the leader of the Unseelie Court. So they know that the Unseelie Court want to remove the Moonweaver for some reason. Lana thinks this puts Dusk/You attacking the group into perspective, as there is more of a connection with Fern than realized. Fern then asks about Shadow Lord Zethуда. The last time they were here, he and Nana Mori fought, and asked if Zethуда knows about Fern. Nana says that he does, and that's why she was given to Nana. They don't like each other very much, and he doesn't care to come into, or he doesn't dare to come into Nana Mori's domain. Fern asks about Saminar, the leader of the Unseelie Court. Sorry if I butchered that name. He is one of the 5 major Archfey of the Feywild, and the leader of the Unseelie Court, and is the keeper of the Sun Shadow, and is the watcher of the Twilight, and is a bit of a prick. They ask what it means to be the keeper of the Sun Shadow. Nana says that he is the master of the place where the shadow always falls in the Feyrealm, which is fucking metal. It actually sounds so sick. FCG asks about Shadow Lord, or Sorrow Lord Zethуда. Nana says that he is a very powerful Fey and a brutal warlord. He enjoys poetry and finds violence in it. Of course he does. He doesn't have other kids, which is why he is so frustrated and doesn't come for Fern. He knows better. Which to me sounds like Nanamori would have fucking executed Fern if Zathuda came close. That's just the vibe I got from that. Anyway, Nana assumes he needs Fern for the Red Moon business. She is some sort of key, likely. He is the keeper of the Dusk Hunger, Blade of the Dark Flame. Imogen says that if Fern got extra power, would that be good? And the party show Nanamori the Shard of the Titan, after telling Laudna to turn away from it because she can't know where it is. They explain Ashen took it in and then threw it back up. Nanamori's eyes lock onto it, and she asks what they found, and it smells very much like Ashen. They explain it's a shard of Raushand, and Ashen is the shard of Kamort. Nana asks if they want her to keep the shard, and they tell her no. They have a contraption to absorb it, and they show Nanamori the harness. At this point, Allura is getting scared with each reveal that happens. She doesn't know what it does, but she guesses its purpose based on what they told her. The party think it's absorbed many powerful objects in the past. Nana says that they've dug up some history here, and carrying very powerful items like this puts them in a lot of danger. She asks to look at it for a bit, and they hand it over. It burns her at touch, and a bit of light lights up her face, and they can see that the empty sockets don't eventually come to eyeballs. It is just straight up empty sockets, which is fucking disgusting. Nanamori's tongue reaches out and touches it, and it burns her tongue a little bit. Imogen asks if Fern is sure that Nanamori won't eat the shard, and Fern says no. Stomach Nana wants to see it, but Head Nana says no, she's not done looking at it. It's a part of the old world and asks if there's one in Ashton. Ashton says yes, and Nana says that she hopes to see it one day, which is fucked up. Fern explains what they want to do with it, and they want to absorb it, or that someone in the party should absorb it. FCG asks if someone like Fern would be a bad choice for it, because of her connection with the Fae. And Nana says that the Fae and the Primordials are actually on like the opposite side of the spectrum, and that it shouldn't be a big deal, but they can find out what will happen if they try to absorb it. Chetney then takes the shard back. Allura is waiting in the back, ready to cast a spell if need be, because Allura knows the dangers of a hag. Allura says that the Feyrealm defies logic, and she tries to spend as little time here as possible. Fern then pipes up and says that the material plane is so logical. Allura says that she didn't mean to offend. Chetney asks why the Unseelie Court would want the Moonweaver gone. Allura says to create a power vacuum, most likely. At this point, Nanamori leaves for a bit. Allura says that the Moonweaver is a good god, kind of, and that she's a god of many secrets, and many worship her both in the Seelie and Unseelie Court, although those in the Unseelie Court kind of keep it a secret. She believes the Moonweaver would have many enemies, and thinks that right now, a time where the gods are weakened, would be a good time for the enemy to strike. Chet asks if the Archfey and the Unseelie can move between the Feyrealm and the Plane of Exandria. Allura says the more powerful ones can. The leaders of the courts actually work together to control who can travel between them. If the courts don't want you to leave, they won't let you. They won't let you use the gates that they've built. Fern asks how her parents got out of the Feyrealm. Allura says that they likely called in favors, and then looks over to Nanamori. There are those like her that the courts don't like because of this and their other powers that they hold. Orm asks Allura what she knows of Nana. Allura says that she is the stalker of dreams and the promiser of many things and robber of others. She thinks these stories are on a base-by-base individual experience, but in academic circles, she is a very dangerous individual. But thinks her home is better than expected, and Allura has been enjoying her hospitality thus far. But she's aware of what someone like her can hide beneath the surface. Ashton Insight checks to see how much sugar coating Allura just did, and rolls a natural 20 for a 21, and gets a whisper. Imogen and Laudna are excited for the scavenger hunt now, and the party smell a fruity aroma, and a bunch of small critters begin to make their way into the room. They hear a teacup boiling, or tea kettle boiling. Nana says that it's time for some tea and she wants everyone to gather around as they discuss their therapeutic session. They sit around with Nana Mori and she pours a bunch of tea for everyone. She says 3 items have been chosen. After each endeavor, they may claim one. If they fail an endeavor, they know what they'll have to work on. She tells them to drink up, and they all in fact drink up. Nana says that she's reached out to spirits, and they have agreed to adjust things to meet their needs. Are they all ready? The party say they are ready to go. And then Nana asks which one they would like to do first. Communication, trust, or honesty. They choose honesty. Nana says, very well. Nana breathes in, and the stomach face opens up, and a bunch of smoke comes from Nana. The smoke fills the room. The temperature drops, and they are no longer in the manor. They are in a thick jungle of the Fae somewhere. They see a lot of colors as they look around, and they look down and see that they are right on the edge of a chasm. It goes so far down that they can't see the bottom of it before it turns to black. Nana huddles them around and holds up a brass monocle. Nana says that it's the first item, the monocle of true essence. It'll be their job to find it, and she throws it down into the chasm. The chasm is unclimbable, but it listens, but only to honesty. Speak their secrets and speak honestly, and a path will show its way forward. She forms a bubble around them, and she blows them down into the chasm. As they fall, more of the chasm becomes within view. Broken platforms, broken structures, and grown over by roots and greenery. They slam into the ground and bounce up 10 feet, and then the bubble pops, and they fall down in the bog again. There seems to be a storm coming. They need to get moving. FCG wonders if locate object will work, and the party know they have to be honest to have a path be revealed to get them out. There is 2 issues here. They need to find the monocle, and they need to get a path out of the chasm. FCG tells the truth about liking to eat silver more than copper, and a path is made 15 feet going up the chasm wall. FCG thinks this will be great for them to learn more about each other. They look to see if the monocle is nearby, but they don't find it. Lana thinks if they expose their true essence, much like the monocle's name, the path will be made toward it. Imogen says that she's scared to see her mother again, and a stone path grows out of the muck ahead of them. Ashton, who is digging around for the monocle nearby, pulls his arm out and sees that there's a bunch of leeches on him. And now the entire party are aware that they are covered in leeches. They jump onto the stone path and they all take a bit of damage from the leeches. Lana says deep down that she and Delilah both want the shard. A stone pillar bursts out of the chasm wall and it creates a vantage point for the party. Imogen says that she loves Lana, but thinks it's weird that Delilah is probably watching them constantly. This causes ruins to push out of the ground before the party. Orem says that he's super lonely all the time, even when he's sharing a bed with everyone. Laudna says that she wants happy secrets, but then FCG says that he's jealous that they all have beating hearts and feels like they don't use them enough, which is very sad. More ruins begin to burst out of the ground, and bridges seem to connect the ruins to each other as they pop up. Laudna climbs up to the vantage point that her truth made. Orem says that he sometimes wonders if Chetney is his dad, and Laudna's vantage point actually goes out a bit further. Ashton says that he is the reason that the Jenna Huxham heist went wrong, and he is the reason that he went out the window. With that, more of the old civilization begins to rise from the bog. Laudna asks if that's why Ashton thinks that the nobody should have left, and that's why he thinks that the Bells should have left them as well. He says that he's had a long life, and that was a bad day, and he's had many bad days. The party start looking for the monocle again. Fern rolls a perception check of 22 and feels the monocle is definitely not within the area they are standing. Fern then says that she feels they are ill-equipped for the job ahead of them and thinks that they are going to fail on the moon. Vines grow up the wall to the chasm, giving them a path about halfway up the chasm wall. Chess says that he fears that one day metal will take over toy making and he will become obsolete. This begins to crumble away some of the ruins that were built before, showing where the monocle is not hiding. Imogen climbs up to where Laudna is and says that she's sorry for what she said, but it was easier when Delilah wasn't so present. Orem climbs up and sees that they are only halfway up the chasm. FCG says that every time they kill something, it feels really good and reduces their stress a little bit. This makes even more runes begin to fall, showing where the monocle is not. Imogen says that she tried to talk to the gods all her life and doesn't want to save gods that don't love her. This makes the pillar that they are standing on shoot across to the other side and make a bridge crossing the entire chasm. Lana says that she fantasizes pulling out of this mission that they're on all the time. This makes rain begin to fall and it clears some of the muck away from the ground. Imogen looks around again and sees a statue of a child but no monocle. Orm looks down and sees on a roof that there is a light green glint coming from it. It's probably the monocle. Orm tells the others to stop telling truth so he doesn't lose it, and he tries to tell the others where it is, but they don't see it. He asks for the ladies to give him a soft landing, and he jumps off the wall, or the chasm wall. He rolls an acrobatic check for a lot because it's Orm, and he jumps and goes a good distance, and Laudna casts Featherfall on him, and he's able to fall towards what he saw. The rest of the party begin to climb their way up, as they now know that the monocle is within reach. Orm lands and sees the monocle as there waiting for him. He grabs it and puts it away. Fern and FCG join Imogen and Laudna on the sort of bridge that came across the other side of the chasm, and the rest go up the vines on the other side. There's now two different groups on opposite sides of the chasm. They still need to make a way up, as they're only halfway up. Fern says that when they all sleep, she does weird things to the party, like looking at them and touching them a bit, but nothing super creepy or super bad. This makes a small pathway going up 3/4 the way up for the female side and the FCG side. On the other side, with Chetney, Ashton, and Orem, they're about halfway up the vines. Ashton sometimes worries that at least one of the members of the party will kill another member and isn't sure how that would go. Laudna asks how Orem feels about being the only non-ticking time bomb in the group. Orem says that he has faith in all of them, but has also thought about how to execute them all. This makes a large skeleton burst out of the wall, making a path for the boys going up. They all climb it without issue, and now everyone is 3/4 the way up of the chasm wall. There's still about 40 feet to go. FCG says that they worry about putting all their eggs in one basket with the changebringer, and worries that she only cares for herself. This makes 4 massive mushrooms come out of the chasm wall in front of them, and the other ladies who are with him. Imogen goes over and grabs one and begins to fall off the wall, and she's holding on to it. The mushroom floats over to where the boys are, and she's about to crash into them. As she's about to crash into them, Imogen says that she is disappointed in Fern for running from her power and thinks that she should take in the shard, and Laudna agrees. This makes bushes sprout out on the boys' side of the chasm wall and catch Imogen and stops her from slamming into the boys. Laudna, Fern, and FCG all grab a mushroom and head over as well. FCG tries to control their mushroom a bit, but it's hard to, and they all land on the skeleton. Laudna pulls out Pate and asks him to tell something that's true, and he says that he's barely alive, so he doesn't really know any truths. Ashton asks if he works for Delilah, and he says no, he doesn't know. Ashton then says he feels terrible for fucking up Fern's life, and he believes that he should have died while absorbing the Titan Shard. Lightning strikes the cliff top, sending rocks, making the climb up a lot easier. Chetney says that he grew up in the Bramblewood outside of Westrun, and when he was a kid, he came back from learning how to make toys and found that his whole family had left. All they had left behind were toys. They ran away when Everon, the Rhyme Lord, was running across the plains, and so he's kind of afraid of dragons, and had 5 siblings: Alabaster, Pepper, Sugarplum, Hermione, I don't even know how to say that, Hermione, and Chad. Fuck that middle name. And he was so mad that they left that he never looked for them. And now he's pretty sure that they're all dead. So, he thinks that any family that he has is just going to look for a reason to leave him, and that's why he doesn't get attached to anybody. At this point, the rain stops, and what looks like manta ray-like creatures, fly down and carry them to the top of the chasm. Waiting for them at the top is Nanamori. She congratulates them on succeeding their first trial. Orm asks if FCG came up with that whole plan. Nana says that they had an idea and she ran with it. She tells them that the monocle is now theirs, and it gives the wearer advantage on insight checks and perception checks. They can cast Detect Magic once a day, see Invisibility twice a day, Arcane Eye once a day, and this all comes back on a long rest. No attunement required. Nana asks what's next, but the party choose to hug Chetney first, and Imogen says that they aren't going anywhere. Lana asks if Chetney likes them, and he says yes. Imogen asks if he was the oldest, but Chetney says he was the youngest. Nana says if he wants vengeance to let her know. Ashton says that that's something they can deal with later. Nana asks for what's next, and the party choose communication. Smoke engulfs the party once again, and they land on a hard surface. They are now in a barely lit underground chamber, and they can only see 100 feet around them. In front of them is a glowing orb, showing them 3 snake-like platforms going outward from a central platform. There's a buzzing sound coming from around them. Nana says that they're in a thunder wasp hive. That sounds fucking horrible. And she needs 3 volunteers, and she tears pieces off a scarf, 3 of them to be exact. Ashton, Imogen, and Chetney all volunteer. As she touches their foreheads, skin grows over their eyelids, and Travis, Laura, and Talzin in real life are all handed blindfolds. Nana teleports the blinded people to the snake platforms, and they're going to start with Chet. The others have to guide them up his path only using their words. And in real life, Travis has a map in front of him, and he has the Chetney mini, and the map has like a bottomless pit and only a single pathway he can follow. If he gets too close to the edge, he will have to make a dexterity saving throw, and if he fails, he falls, obviously. Orm chooses to guide him. He's guiding him well for a bit, but Chetney gets a little too close to the edge, and Orm tells him to stop very loudly. This makes a thunder wasp swarm land on the path somewhere in front of Chetney. He guides him even more, and FCG doesn't like Orm's directions and starts yelling, which causes the swarms to actually attack FCG a couple of times. But luckily they don't land on the path in front yet. Orm continues to guide Chetney, and this goes well for a while. Orm warns Chetney ahead of him is a wasp swarm waiting, and continues to guide him along the path. During which FCG consistently yells against Orm, telling Chetney to speak up. This makes Wasp strike FCG again, but with the high rolls they don't land on the path still. There's still only 1 wasp swarm on the path. As Chetney gets closer, he transforms into a werewolf, but this does not fix his blindness. FCG yelling gets more wasps to attack on FCG, and they also land on the path in front of Chetney again. There's a wasp swarm now 10 feet in front of Chetney. Chetney uses Hunter's Bane to sense things around him. He senses Nana Mori, but doesn't sense the wasps. They don't seem to have Fey-like features to them. Lana takes out Pate and tells him to go mess with the swarm, but there's a barrier in the way, and Nana Mori says this is a task for communication. Orm tells Chetney that he'll likely have to take a hit here. They tell him to move forward, and he walks into the wasp swarm and is stung a bit, but is luckily able to stay on the path and doesn't fall off. Once past, Orm guides him without any issues until he reaches the next swarm. The party tell him to run right through it, as afterwards it's a straight shot to Nana. He does so and takes a bit more damage and doesn't fall and reaches Nana Mori. Nana says that they did well, but Nana says that FCG and Orm are good at communicating. Not really. FCG was fucking them more than anything. And she seals their mouths shut. Now Chetney, Lana, and Fern are the ones that need to guide Imogen. This path is much harder than Chetney's. There's more angles and less straight paths on it. Chetney leads and guides Imogen calmly. He guides her so well that it goes literally perfect until Liam, a person in real life, says something when his mouth is supposed to be sealed, so a swarm lands on the path in front of Imogen. Chetney guides her to the swarm, and she casts Shock Flare on it to try to kill the swarm and deals 11 damage. Too bad they are thunder wasps, so they are immune to lightning. She's forced to push through, and she takes 22 damage and makes a dex save, and she doesn't fall. She walks the rest of the path without any issues. Nana says that it's very well done, and Chetney and Laudna's mouths are now sealed as well. So the only two people left to communicate are Fern and Imogen. And they have to guide Ashton on what is probably the hardest path. Fern and Imogen begin to guide Ashton. They take it slow and instruct Ashton calmly. It goes very well and very slow. Ashton creeps a little too close to the edge, and Liam makes a noise again, and a wasp swarm lands on the path a good distance ahead of Ashton. Imogen and Fern guide him slowly again without any issue until the swarm. As he gets close to the swarm, he rages and gets the gravity rage. He then walks through the swarm, taking 16 damage, and he has to make a dex save. He rolls 11. He angrily starts swinging at the swarm and begins to fall off of the pathway. Grabbing his hammer, he's able to grab onto the side of the pathway and uses his hammer and activates the immovable rod. Athletics check at disadvantage to see if he can get back onto the path. He rolls a natural 1. He jumps up in the wrong direction, but with his rage he gets another roll. He rolls an 8. The gravity pulls him toward the path yet again, but he can't grab onto it and falls into the abyss. The party is in shock, and Nana says not to worry, it was only a test. She snaps her fingers, and he reappears next to the party. The swarms start to freak out, but Nana Mori calms them a bit. Nana says that they can go for another path, but there's no safety net this time. If they don't do this path, they will get nothing for this round, and they'll have to work on their communication. Imogen asks if they stay quiet, if these swarms will come out. Nana says, yes, if you all stay calm, they won't be coming out to deal with the pathway. Orem chooses to walk on the snake path that's in front of them, and Chetney and Imogen will guide, and the rest have their mouths sealed. Nana says that she wants to keep things interesting, and she blows into the chamber, and the path behind Orem begins to crumble away. They have 5 minutes real time to finish this thing. Imogen and Chetney guide Orem calmly, but with a bit of speed. As Orem walks, the path behind him crumbles away. Everyone is able to keep quiet, so no swarms quite yet. They guide him expertly along the crumbling path, and without any issue, Orem reaches Nana Mori at the end of the path. Nana claps and laughs in excitement. Everyone is allowed to speak and see again. Nana holds out the scarf and hands it to Orem. The scarf of intrusive intent. The wearer can speak through the scarf to perform magical effects. The wearer can cast the following spells: Suggestion once per day, Magic Mouth twice a day, Fear once a day, and the DC for these spells is 15. Nana asks if the party feels bonded, and they all say yes, they should have done this sooner. All that's left now is trust, and smoke fills the air again, and the party is no longer in the cold, but they feel a bit of warmth. They are now in the Feyrealm forest, or in one of the many. They are surrounded by ruins. Before them is a well with mirror-like water. Nana says this is the final test. There are 3 altars somewhere in the forest. At each of them is a branch that that they need to go get, and bring them back and place them in the water. Chetney asks what the catch is, and Nana snaps her fingers. 2 humanoid figures emerge from the trees. They are doppelgangers. 2 of the party will be replaced, and the party need to figure out who they are before the doppelgangers ruin it for them. Matt has a bunch of cards that he will hand out next game, and he'll tell you, or tell the party, if they are either a doppelganger or if they are themselves. I am so fucking hyped for this. You have no idea. And this is where the episode ends. And there you have it, episode 79 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. I fucking adore this episode. For so many reasons, I adore this episode. First and foremost, I love the tests. The honesty test was really fun to me for learning about a bunch of stuff. Learning Chetney and his whole backstory to me is really, really, really sad and interesting, because Travis is a player, is someone who likes to move forward. He doesn't like to talk about his character's past very often. Ford, as a character, very rarely ever dwelled on the past. He was more so looking for the future. Chetney was very much the same way, of how he wants to sort of keep his past a secret and doesn't really want to talk about it. And when it comes up, he briefly mentions it, but doesn't really care to talk about it too much. So this was really cool, and it was like forced upon him, which isn't great sometimes, but in this case, it's fucking fantastic. I love everything that happened with this. It was so cool. I am stealing the blindfold map thing. 100% I'm stealing that. That is amazing. That is perfect. I'm stealing that shit all day long. I have a Christmas one-shot coming up, and it's getting used in that. I have to use it. It is so sick. Sick. Awesome to me. And obviously this episode is filled with a bunch of great character moments. Learning about Fern's history as well is amazing. This episode was fantastic. This was a good episode if you are someone who likes to learn about characters and to see a little bit of pseudo combat is how I'm going to put it, because it very much was pseudo combat with what was going on. And I was on the edge of my seat for the whole blindfold thing. It was really cool. All in all, very fun episode. And yeah, thanks for listening. With that, I will see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. Peace.